SOC analysts are often overworked and underappreciated. In fact, 78% say that working in the SOC is very painful. Yikes. Devo recently celebrated the first ever SOC Analyst Appreciation Day to pay some long overdue kudos to you and encourage organizations to improve SOC analyst job satisfaction and mental well-being. If you missed the event, no worries. You can watch all the sessions on SOC career development, overcoming the challenges of SOC work, and more on demand. Visit securityweekly.com/Devo to watch. Workloads protected by VMware are the safest workloads in the multi-cloud. Private cloud, public cloud, any cloud. Stronger, with distributed protection to the API and everything east-west, inside, and cross-cloud. Stronger, with 3 layers of detection, trusting nothing and seeing everything, even the best hidden bad actors. Stronger, with an SE Labs AAA certified advanced NDR that brings the multi-cloud together for the win. You've got workloads, we've got security. VMware Security. Simply stronger. Visit securityweekly.com/VMware to learn more.
Welcome back to Enterprise Security Weekly. Throughout 2022, CRA's Business Intelligence Unit will be releasing research reports on the top topics across the security industry. Our first report will be on third-party risk and the supply chain. To participate in the survey, please visit securityweekly.com/third-party risk. The results will be shared in our third-party risk e-summit in January. And please do that. I would love to see that data. That sounds like exciting stuff to dig into. I probably won't get to dig into it, but I'd love to see the results. Also, don't forget to check out our library of on-demand webcasts and technical trainings at securityweekly.com/on-demand. We actually did one earlier today on XDR. That was, I think we did a pretty good job of explaining what XDR is, what it's not, why it's not. Well, some of it's not just SIM, but that should be on our on-demand pretty soon. I'd say later today, if not tomorrow, maybe. I don't know how long it takes, but it's pretty quick. And it's a good one. So now on to the Enterprise Security Weekly News. If you want to follow along, look at the same notes that we're looking at, the same news items, you can go to securityweekly.com/ESW252. Basically the name of the podcast and the number. Let's see. Should we start with the fundings?
Sure. There's a really nice tie-in here. We can talk about more XDR with ReliaQuest.
Yeah, ReliaQuest.
It's been around for a long time. They've been around for, I think, about 10 years at this point. They've pivoted a little bit, but now they're in the XDR as a service space and, landed some good funding here.
Well, they've always been an MSSP, right?
Yeah, but pivoting a little bit to this XDR as a service, using its, their history, not just in platform, but in customer service, which, is certainly helpful in this space. And they've got some good backers, KKR, 1011, FTV. So kudos to them. They've been around a while.
Yep, private equity backed. KKR has done a lot of stuff in the security space. And it's a pretty hot spot. I mean, basically XDR, in a nutshell, other products weren't working, for detection and response. Either it just took too much effort, or people just didn't have the staff to do it in-house. To build all these detections. So that's kind of where XDR came from. And it doesn't mean you still don't need people to manage and tune these things. So, when you, again, just don't have the people to manage this stuff, that's when you turn to something like, an offering like ReliaQuest's approach to XDR. And we're seeing that more and more.
XDR makes a whole lot of sense. I saw in the webinar notes that Forrester has declared EDR dead. Everybody's going to XDR. I don't know if we want to just give up EDR quite yet, but XDR certainly, it's been buzzword worthy over the past 2 or 3 years or so, And I think it's finally hitting its stride, and that, may be evidenced by some of the funding that we've seen here. I know there's an XDR alliance that's trying to do great things in just educating the market on what XDR means, because sort of like passwordless, there are a few different definitions of XDR depending on with whom you are speaking.
Yeah, so EDR is actually the core of most XDR products. So, when they say EDR is dead, I think that's more of as a standalone product, EDR doesn't make as much sense as it used to. Now that XDR enables you to take EDR and correlate with network events, cloud events, stuff like that, it makes more sense to acquire EDR functionality as part of a larger platform like XDR. So I think that's what
but you
most
don't
of the folks,
you don't want to necessarily throw the baby out with the bathwater if what you have right now is EDR.
Yeah, right. Like maybe it replaces your EDR, but most of the XDR out there, another big point of XDR is broad integration with other products. Even when Palo Alto introduced it at Ignite 2018, they said right off the bat, hey, it's going to work with our competitors. You don't have to have our firewalls. Like we'll pull in the data from our competitors' devices as well.
Right, and that's one thing that the XDR Alliance, that's why I'm a big fan of them, they talk about. It's not vendor lock-in. It's not buying everything from the same company. It is that interoperability, and that solves some problems. I mean, of course, a lot of vendors would love to be the one and only, but enterprises might be hesitant to have vendor lock-in. They might be hesitant to, tie all of their security to one vendor, and that's what this interoperability, this interconnectivity does. And we've seen the integration model work really well in so many instances. This is just another good example of how it can work when the security field is willing to play nicely with others. Sort of gets back to what Edna was saying, this information sharing. It's sort of like that in a sense,
And I wouldn't say it's playing nice. It's realizing that you've got to work, you've got to partner. You can't expect customers to rip and replace stuff. If you want to have a happy customer, if you want to have low churn rates, you got to leverage what people already have in their environment.
Well, that is playing nice. Otherwise, they could just say no. They could just say, "All right, we can argue semantics later."
All right. CyCognito raises a $100 million Series C. So this is an interesting one. We're starting to see companies in the attack surface management space get acquired. CyCognito, I'm sure, has gotten offers, but has chosen to continue growing. And it's a very interesting space to me because I tested a bunch of these earlier this year, and I can totally see these replacing some fairly run-of-the-mill, mediocre external pen tests and also external vulnerability scanning. Some of the, and not all the vendors in the space are anywhere near that. But the Randoris, the CyCognitos are getting to the point to where they're doing prioritization, they're mapping to CVEs. They can really start replacing your traditional vulnerability management scanners, your Qualys, your Tenable, your Rapid7 for external stuff. They don't do anything internal, just finding your external attack surface, which of course goes far beyond just ports and IP addresses. You've got domain names, maybe sitting out there waiting for a takeover attack or something like that. Lots of stuff that a typical scanner that you're going to point at IP addresses aren't going to find. So very interested to see if they can disrupt the traditional vulnerability management space and maybe some pen testing services at the lower end of pen testing services.
Yeah, because once again, we get into a resource allocation problem. There's so much of that attack surface to understand and manage that you can't have enough butts and seats for it to happen. So these types of tools the CyCognitos and others are becoming necessary, because you can't just say, well, I'm only going to look internal, or I'm only going to look external, or I'm only going to look at this layer or that layer. You have to look everywhere. And so the ability to do that in sort of an ongoing, whether it's continuous or on demand, anything that happens is better, and anything that's automated is the best that we have right now.
Yeah, and I mean, you just need, it's very timely information. I tell any company, if you're depending on an annual pen test or even biannual pen test to find things that you're missing, like, why even bother? You're taking such a risk there of going 6 months without knowing what you don't know. You really need that capability year round, and that's why we're also seeing some folks who are traditionally on the services side, like Bishop Fox, and they recently renamed their product here. It was called Cast. I'll get the new name. They rebranded it. It is now called, what is it called? Cosmos. It is now called Cosmos, where basically they're using a product kind of like CyCognito, not quite as advanced as CyCognito, doesn't tackle as many data types. But the idea is, this automated product is going to go out and find stuff that humans should go look at. And then their humans, people at Bishop Fox will basically do like a mini pen test on each of those items that pop up and then report them to you. So instead of you having to filter out the false positives and go through all these alerts and stuff like that, what you get out of this product are only the things that really matter, that can really cause you pain. And it does that, year round. This is a year round service that you pay for, instead of just blowing a large amount of money on a point in time pen test once a year. So it makes a lot of sense.
And certainly they complement. You can't say, well, this replaces pen test, because you have to have that aspect too. But it's important to remember also that attackers use automated tools like this to find the vulnerabilities just like you do. So incorporating this into the continuous vulnerability management program is, I think, a really a great thing for enterprises.
Yeah, agreed. This is, I think, a huge missing piece. Especially with as often as we see even really big companies getting hit by this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it would be great to say, hey, there's one tool that does it all, but unfortunately, that's never going to happen. But this really plugs a big hole, and it takes away some of the burden on the human element for enterprises, because we know there aren't enough people for the roles. The need is only getting bigger, and we're not going to fill it with more humans. We're definitely going to fill it with automation. There's still going to be plenty for security folks to do when they have this information in hand.
Yeah, there's still some subcategories here that folks like CyCognito aren't covering yet. I see them probably moving into it, like Digital Shadows is looking for data leaks. Also Terbium Labs, I think, is still out there. And then folks like Git Guardian are looking for secrets in code, in your code repositories that accidentally end up there. So yeah, still some more attack surface management ground to cover there.
Yeah, we're going to see some consolidation for sure in the next couple of years where these pieces come together.
Yeah. All right, next one here is CyCode. I don't know a ton about CyCode except that they're a YL Ventures portfolio company. But 56 million Series B is pretty healthy. They're going after DevOps pipelines, securing software supply chains, and that's definitely a very very ripe market to go after here. So looking at integrations here, might be going after specifically supply chain stuff, but Do you know any more about them?
Yeah, I spoke with them last year, I think. They're going up against the companies like GitGuardian, Blue Rocket. Interesting company, seem to, have a really good view of the market and what it means. They're focusing on the source code, which obviously is extremely valuable, and helping companies understand what data is important, how it being the foundation of applications can really affect companies if they don't understand what they're putting out there, how risky it is, how it's scattered all over, how developers are using it. There's not one nice, neat little place. Again, it's been a while since I've spoken to them, but was very impressed with them. And so this is a great accomplishment for the company.
Yeah, it looks like they basically integrate into all the components you have in your code pipeline, and just looking for misconfigurations, like you mentioned, secrets in code. Basically any kind of mistakes that can get you in security trouble with any component of the pipeline.
Yeah, and doing access reviews for stale accounts, privilege escalation. I believe you can automatically deploy least privilege. It's scanning the code for common issues like misconfigurations, anomalies, etc. So, the detection mechanism is probably really strong. I imagine they're probably getting into some sort of mitigation actions as well. So looks like a great company, very promising.
Yeah, so we've got a few acquisitions here. The first one, to be honest, I don't understand what Unbound Security does. I understand, I'm a Coinbase customer. I understand what Coinbase does. I was hoping you would understand this a little bit better than I did. I don't know what secure multi-party computation is.
Enlightening here. I read about this. You sent it over, but I don't know a whole lot of about Unbound either.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Coinbase is managing a lot of funds, and it's interesting to see, what's happening in the crypto market. And, especially since they're not banks, the money that they're holding is not FDIC insured, so security is pretty important, and a large amount of the breaches that we've seen in the last 10 years have been crypto gateways, crypto markets, managing people's cryptocurrency. So we've seen a lot of security plays by CoinDesk, and I'm sure this is going to do something to make them more secure. I just, reading through it, was not able to understand what Unbound was doing here. But I'm
no help. Not right now.
Whatever crypto agility means, I don't know. It's flexible crypto. It stretches. I don't know.
Sure. I mean, if it's not FDIC backed, maybe it can be anything you want it to be.
All right. Aqua Security, which started out as a container security company and kind of pivoted more into CSPM, cloud security posture management, more general, security, cloud security. Acquired a Israeli company, CyCognito. So this is a very interesting one. The
CSPM market is huge. Obviously, we've seen a lot of companies in this space. It's becoming more and more popular. I was reading the other day about how CSPM, along with some of the other cloud security related solutions and capabilities, are moving more towards CNAPP, which stands for Cloud Native Application Protection Platforms. So it's not unexpected that you're going to see a little bit of a consolidation in this market. Aqua is a good company. They've raised a lot of money. I think this article said they're at a Series E at a 1 billion valuation, so that makes them unicorn-like. They've been around a while, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with this acquisition. I don't know a whole lot about the acquisition target, Argon.
Yeah, Argon. Yeah, I completely misspoke earlier. They were comparing Aqua to CyCognito. I misspoke earlier. Aqua has acquired Argon. And again, Argon, it looks like it just expands their reach into more of the development process. Whereas I think Aqua originally was somewhat agent-based. That's how they would, or at least one of the ways that they could inspect containers and things like that. And looks like Argon is specifically agentless, so maybe offers some more deployment options for their product. All right. Next, AWS. This isn't really a new product. It looks like an enhancement to Inspector, which Inspector is an agent that you can basically deploy on any of your cloud resources. Back in the day, they were talking about allowing you to put Inspector on resources that weren't in the cloud. I don't know if they ever did that, but yeah, basically it's not really 100% of what an agent from Tenable or Rapid7 or anybody like that would do. But it checks the compliance box for a lot of folks in AWS, which I think was the main reason they put it out. So it's interesting to see that they're expanding it, because before, I think it just aimed to be good enough to check some compliance boxes, and that was kind of its purpose.
Yeah, from my understanding, they're trying really hard to figure out ways to actually get more data about the environments for people, which obviously makes it more secure. So I think this is good. Unfortunately, with Inspector, now I have the Inspector Gadget theme song running through my head. So that's unfortunate for me, and maybe for some of you now that I gave you that earworm as well. But some of these updates, if they can produce anything beyond, like you said, a basic scan, will be great. I like the secrets detector that they mentioned a little later on with Code Guru Reviewer, which is a mouthful in and of itself. But some of we were talking about DevOps, and those secrets can be incredibly problematic. And so if they can detect some of the secrets that developers are putting out there, unintentionally, I'm sure, most of the issues come from just missteps rather than maliciousness. This could be a huge boon for developers and cut down on the security focused type of things that they don't necessarily like doing, and stop their development.
Yeah, I think that very quickly became table stakes, being able to detect secrets in code repositories. And I suspect that there's a lot of vendor management surveys, that pretty much requiring that now for any kind of CI/CD pipeline.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be. Otherwise, secrets get out there and all of a sudden, everything blows up.
Yeah. It's a very, very quick way to fail.
Yes.
in a very painful way. So the next one here, this product is just new to me. It's been out there a while. Obviously, people have been using it. I wasn't familiar with StrongDM until the other day, but I love the idea of it. And it looks like kind of like almost like Terraform or CloudFormation, but for users. So you can go ahead and set up, like, if I hire an engineer, they're going to need access to this and this and this and this and this. You basically, set all that up ahead of time. you bring in a new employee and boom, this thing, gets them access to all the stuff that they need to do their job. And I would imagine allows you to clean it up. If they leave the company, go out the door. I haven't specifically looked for that, but I imagine they handle the reverse as well, revoking access to these.
On their website it says auditable access to everything they need, with activity log, with permission changes, adding a data source, logging into the admin UI, et cetera, et cetera. So there must be some sort of detection of stale or orphaned accounts, and hopefully some mitigation actions out there. I haven't, like you, had the time to dig into it, but looks strong.
Yeah, I mean, just think about all the little things that you need. I mean, when you join a company, at least for me, most of the time, it's just kind of as you need something, you ask somebody, and they're like, "Oh yeah, let me, you need generate an SSH key. Send me your public key so I can get you access to that server." And it's a painfully manual process, and I love that this allows you to just configure it all on one platform, and looks like it's got a heavy chat ops component, so you can manage a lot of this via Slack or Microsoft Teams, that kind of thing. So very cool.
A ton of pre-built APIs, so should make it easy for people to sign on and start using.
Yeah. I know a ton of people who've just built this from scratch for their company, and if it's worth it to build from scratch, and this, if they price it right, should be a no-brainer.
Again, don't know much about this company, but my guess is these people sat in the seat and then just built it either for the company they were working for or said, geez, I wish I had a tool. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah. $50 per user per month, though. That might be a little, I'm sure there's discounts at scale, but I don't know. Is that steep? That seems steep.
$50 per user? Well, I guess it depends on how big your organization is.
Yeah. Yeah, and how often you have to go. Well, I mean, if you consider how much time you're spending, people that don't have to manually give people access to resources, it probably pays for itself pretty quickly, if I'm honest.
Right, yeah, from a help desk perspective, like we were talking about with passwordless, how much time are you spending on provisioning and resetting and all of this? And, what's the cost when something goes wrong?
Yeah. Yeah, so next item we have here is interesting blog post by Chris Rolfe, just talking about the risks of AI code generation, specifically talking about GitHub's new Copilot product. So, just talking about how, again, this is kind of a dual use case where, leveraging machine learning to fill in the blanks, to write some of the code for you, can prevent you from making a lot of mistakes. But at the same time, they're training these machine learning models off of public data. So there's also some concern out there that public data could be poisoned, and you could train the models to do nasty things.
Yeah, this was a really interesting read, well worth it, I thought. Because I don't think this is anywhere near ready for prime time. First of all, is it really AI or is it just advanced math? But we get into some of the problems here, like you mentioned, with could we poison the training data? Could this be intentionally tampered with? What happens if we're only ingesting, the garbage in, garbage out kind of model, that we've seen with like facial recognition, where the promise is so much better than its reality? I would definitely worry at this point about how reliable something like this could be. And the author here, he does make some good points on why we need to be careful of it. I don't think we're ever going to reach a point where we have, completely computer written code. I think if we do, I'm probably not going to be alive at that stage anyway. But
I mean, most of the email clients at this point will try and predict how you're going to finish out your sentence, right?
Right, and they're usually bad.
They usually work pretty well for me.
Okay, maybe I'm just unpredictable. I don't know. Or those chat bots. I hate chat bots and say, "What is your question?" And you ask a question and it gives you some ridiculously unrelated topic, and you're like, "No, I just want to talk to a human." Maybe I'm showing my age here. I don't know, but for me, it's so frustrating when I get back something that isn't even close. I think it works for me on text much better than it works certainly for email or in Word. I just turn that off because it doesn't. It's more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah, I've had pretty good luck with it. In my case, often, like it's only offering to type like the next word, maybe the next two words for me, so it's almost not even worth it. So I'd be interested to hear from some programmers, and see if it's actually saving them time. All right. So we've seen a lot of suggestions that maybe the SOC isn't the best way to handle threat detection and response in the organization. I likened the SOC to kind of like the, at least at the lower levels, lower tiers of the SOC, kind of like the folks that would connect you at a telephone exchange, as switchboard operators, where not a ton of value in there. It's not even a fun job to do. It's kind of a stepping stone for a lot of people to get into security. But I kind of like the idea of, distributing some of these SOC functions out to subject matter experts who are often not even going to be in security. They're going to be asset owners. They're going to be admins or DevOps engineers in a lot of cases.
Again, this is a space where the need for people to do this is a lot higher than the numbers of people who either are available or who want to. I imagine there's a huge burnout. So,
I'm all for
distributed incident response. Are you going to end up with the same result, but in a more distributed fashion than having people sit in a SOC, whether physically or virtually? I don't know the answer to that.
Well, so traditionally, this is very much in that realm of, somebody's going to replace you with a shell script. The deciding where a problem needs to go is the easiest piece to automate. So those are not really jobs that you want to to put yourself into in the first place, if you can help it. So, one of our most popular entry-level fields is also one of the most likely to burn people out. So I don't have a problem with lower-level SOC positions going away, and us automating that, and really, making some room for roles where they actually get to, you can pass off some knowledge, you can train some people, you can, they're not just glorified ticket rerouters, switchboard operators.
Yeah. We certainly know that high burnout jobs come with monotony, or vice versa. So this could be, one way to remediate some of that issue.
Yeah, I don't know that the SOC goes away. Realistically, I think it's more
not
more of a reconfiguration.
For sure. But some of the, like you said, the low-level jobs, the things that are more monotonous, the things that don't add value, the things where people are feeling like they're working from rote.
Yeah, and maybe some orgs, it varies wildly based on like if you're a bank, it's completely different than, if you're a startup software vendor or something like that. So maybe some organizations they don't need to add the SOC. There's a lot of factors here. All right, next trend here, Lloyd's carves out cyber insurance exclusions for state-sponsored attacks.
I feel like we'd like to rewind a week here to talk about this one, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I don't think this is going to help the naysayers, the people who are skeptical of cyber insurance. If we're talking about excluding nation-state sponsored cyber attacks from cyber insurance, aren't these the worst things, the nation-state attacks that could potentially happen? And if there's the opportunity for them to refuse coverage for these, what we're just protecting against the low-hanging fruit. We shouldn't be looking to secure at that level. We should be looking to secure against the most difficult attacks, the most sophisticated attacks. I know most of them aren't. Most companies will never have to deal with a nation-state sponsored attack, but we don't want companies, it's like the, compliance isn't equal security type of thing. We don't want people to start securing to a lower level or, ignoring this because they feel like it's not going to be part of the regular plan. And I think it's a little bit dangerous. I understand that this might not be profitable for Lloyd's and or others, but isn't that why we buy insurance? We don't buy insurance in case we stub our toe, right? We buy insurance in case we have a long-term illness and we have tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of healthcare related expenses. It's not that, $100 or $150 bill once that we're worried about. It's that long-term, really big issue. I don't think this is a great message to send out. I understand why it makes sense for insurers, but I don't think it makes sense for companies who are looking for insurance and looking to really protect themselves from the potentially hardest and most devastating attacks.
Yeah, as a policy holder, definitely this would make me nervous. This looks like a nice release valve for them to to step out of, find a way to not have to pay out a policy.
Yeah, it's kind of like saying, on the health insurance side, to somebody, we'll cover everything except if you get cancer.
Yeah, really. Yeah, like the pre-existing conditions, basically. Also, because in a lot of these cases,
well, maybe we'll cover it if you get stage 1 cancer, but stage 4, you're SOL.
And the shocking thing, when were you with us when we were talking to Jeffrey Smith, when we were interviewing Jeffrey Smith about cyber insurance?
Yeah, it was last week.
Yeah.
Or 2 weeks ago, technically. Last week I was eating turkey at this time.
Yeah, last episode. That was a shocker to me, is that the insurance company is just sitting there looking over your shoulder. Why is that port open? Why is that wasn't open last week? Why is that one open? It's just insane to me that they're going to be nitpicking every change you make.
Yeah.
Your dog's upset about it.
That made me a little nervous, yeah.
Let's wrap up here. We're not going to cover all of these. I thought best cities for cybersecurity professionals was interesting here. Advisor Smith released a study ranking 181 cities in the U.S. based on their attractiveness for cybersecurity professionals. I assume they're just kind of mapping job openings here to cities.
This one confused me. I thought it was an interesting little study that they did, but for the past almost 2 years at this point, everybody's been virtual anyway. So does it matter?
So who cares? Yeah. Yeah, no.
I mean, Colorado's nice. I like Colorado. I've been there a few times. It's great. But, why or I guess Bloomington, Indiana was first. I was thinking of Colorado Springs. To me, that's the nicest town that's on that the top three. But I'm not sure it matters that much. At least not for the short term. Maybe if people get back to offices, which I don't think is going to happen as much. But okay.
Yeah, no, totally agree. It's kind of a weird time to release that. Like I'm sure some jobs are still forcing people to move, but yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, my pets are weighing in here. I'm looking here. The top large cities are Colorado Springs, Washington, D.C., and Albuquerque. Okay, those are all nice. Mid-size, Bloomington, Illinois, Huntsville, Alabama, and Trenton, New Jersey. No, thank you, I'm Trenton. And top small cities are Idaho Falls, Ithaca, New York, and Rapid City, South Dakota. I've been to all of those, and they're lovely. I mean, there's no reason not to move to any of those for a lot of people, I'm sure, except for the cold factor. If you hate cold, you would not move to Idaho, New York, or South Dakota. No reason not to move there, but I don't think I could be convinced in this day and age that there's any argument for one city being better than another for any sort of professional, unless it has to be a facility-based job. If you're a healthcare worker, if you're a retail worker, but if you're in security,
doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I have good internet.
All right, let's hit the squirrel story, and then we'll sign off here. So this is it's kind of a visual thing. It's the last link in the list of stories that we have here. Story number 15, and I was going through Burger King drive-thru the other day. Noticed some Nordic runes on the drive-thru window. I thought, that's weird. So I took a picture to look it up later, and couldn't really figure out what it meant. So I posted it to Twitter. Decided to crowdsource the answer to the mystery here, and sure enough, people suggested. Several people found that it's a protection invocation. So basically, a spell to protect that Burger King. I don't know what they're trying to protect it from.
A spell to protect your arteries.
Yeah, maybe. So apparently there's some, it was written from the inside. So I don't know how relevant that is. But apparently if you write the runes backwards, it like reverses the spell. So I don't know if that's, I don't know. I thought it was interesting in 2021, somebody's writing some Viking runes on the Burger King. I don't know if that's protecting them from COVID or from somebody trying to rob the store, but I found it interesting and wanted to share.
Okay. Can't say I've come across any sort of Viking markings in my daily happenings here, but
it was very small. It was very small. It was I almost didn't notice it. So yeah. Anybody listening, let us know if you see any fast food joints with being protected by runes. And with that, thanks so much, Katie, thank you so much for joining me today. A lot of interesting stuff today. And big thanks to everybody watching or listening to this week's episode of Enterprise Security Weekly. We will see you next time.